Welcome back to The Verdict. It's our election studios. Well, quite a number of states have had their governorship results announced, governors' winners declared, but you have several others that have not. Some are inconclusive. Adamawa, for instance, many were waiting to see whether or not they were going to conclude the process, but the elections have been declared inconclusive. Here's an update.
Backed up by law, which I'm going to read from regulations and guidelines for the conduct of elections. Regulations and guidelines for the conduct of elections. I read page 17, section paragraph C. Where margin of lead principle, the margin of lead principle, where the margin of lead between the two leading candidates in an election is not in excess of the total number of voters registered in polling units, where elections are not held or voided in line with sections 26 and 53 of the Electoral Act, the returning officer shall decline to make a return until polls have taken place in the affected polling units and the results collated into the relevant forms for declaration and return. This is the margin of lead principle and shall apply wherever necessary in making returns of all elections to which these regulations and guidelines apply. With this, if it is clearly understood, now if we look at the total number of votes which could have been harvested from the total number of voters registered in the 44 PUs in the 29 RAs, the margin of lead principle should apply, and therefore I declare this exercise inconclusive.
So there you go. That's the case with Adamawa. So all eyes will now be on INEC to tell us, having declared it inconclusive, what next? Because there's got to be an end to the entire process. Makanolabo, is there any way whatsoever why anyone should be worried whether or not the process could cause some apprehension, hence a security situation?
Yeah, why not? Of course. Pronouncements as this, would always want to, do I say whip up sentiments, or would generally bring about some level of restiveness, amongst the electorates as to what is going to be the next line of action.
In other words,
is it a rerun, and so on.
But one of the things that would, you talked about restiveness on the one hand, one can just place that. On the other hand is the people in the state right now, they don't know where their fate lies, and that should also be a cause for concern.
Yes, of course, why not? Why not? Because they really do not know where their fate lies. Who is going to be the next, play the next leadership role for the next 4 years and so on. And these are things that should be ascertained by now.
When they carry out their duties, do you get a sense that, because I like to imagine that they get a lot of security briefings and advice when they're going through elections, different agencies, because they work with security agencies a lot as well. Do you get a sense that they actually take all of those security advice or reports on board while executing their duties, these officials?
You mean the INEC officials?
Yeah.
Or generally agencies?
Agencies, particularly, for instance, this particular election, since we're taking a look at them.
I must be frank with you, we belong to an environment where, to a greater extent, we allow, I would say, very feeble matters to, or even extraneous issues to affect the main line of thought that should be guiding the project before us. The point I'm trying to make is this. People become so sentimental at times, and narrow-mindedness and so on. And then, of course, do not forget that not all of us are actually above board. irrespective of whatever you think is the position we hold, our experience in life and whatever. When the actual time for decision comes, you'll be shocked at the level of individuals so well placed that will be allowing ethnic, religious, and other very funny influencers to come into guiding their decisions.
What do you think informs that?
I think it has to do with our past and the fact that a good number of us have refused to break away from our past. And let me hastily add this. Our school curriculum has not helped matters. For some of us who went through the military, it has really helped us. I said some, because there are lots of us too who have gone through the military who still have these hangovers of ethnic and religious mentality and what have you. For some of us who went through the military, it has really helped us so much that I keep saying it. I am a very detribalized Nigerian. Fine, I'm from the north, but that you are Umar does not add or minus to you. If there's an issue before me and Benga has the right competence for me to pick, I pick Benga. I don't give a damn. It doesn't even occur to me that, look, Umar is supposed to be your brother. Is Benga not my brother?
But will these sentiments ever leave the political scene? Can we divorce them?
The politicians are the worst, the most guilty of them all. I've always said it. The greatest problem we have in the development of our democracy has to do with the elite political class, who should even know better. They are the ones that promote most of the sentiments we are talking about, with the intent to divide the followership, rather than helping to guide followership and inculcate certain sense of patriotism into them. No way. For personal gains. So when these things flow from the top down, tell me, it will take quite some time. And that is why I keep looking at our school curriculum. Can we again revisit our school curriculum, right from primary to secondary school and upwards, and see how we can begin to infuse into it certain elements of patriotism? For Christ's sake, it is important.
We certainly need a whole dose of that. I mean, much more, because I mean, there has to be a country first before anybody's personal interest whatsoever.
Yes.
The country is far above any other thing. But, you know, speaking about what we need to do, how we need to contribute in our different spheres of influence to strengthen, you know, the unity of the country and agencies. But I'm just wondering, you know, when there are several reports about the military or security agencies, particularly military in Rivers, which is what we're focusing on now, sometimes you just, why then is it that we don't see, because if the military says, look, you have people who, thugs, who masquerade, or some of them get into this, you know, military camouflage to take advantage of it at one point in time or the other. Granted, that can happen in some areas. But when it then has to do with specifics, when it has to do with that of Rivers, would it be out of place for the military to then sweep into action? Who are those who are perpetrating it? Address the country and let them know. If it's not the military that's involved in Rivers, let the people know. Because this, perhaps correct me if I'm wrong, has a long way to affect, strengthen, or otherwise the confidence that the people have with the military.
I know the present leadership of the military, to be fair to General Buratai and maybe his colleagues at that level, the strategic level, I know they have tried as much as possible to see how much of sanitization can be brought to bear on the military. I know General Buratai has issued a rules of engagement for these elections, code of conduct, operational orders to troops and so on, insisting that commanders, local commanders on ground, should as much as possible insulate troops away from politicians and so on. He has said this severally, and he has not ceased to really warn that, look, there will be penalties if individuals are involved. So I want to believe that footages as this would help in picking out those who might have to
because
face.
there are CCTV clips of some people in military camouflage with guns, and the hats, getting into a kitchen of a current commissioner in Rivers. Several circulating.
At the same time, we should not shy away from the fact or overlook the fact that, look, some of these guys might actually not even be military personnel.
How quickly do you expect then, if you say that they may not be military personnel, how quickly do you expect that the military investigates this and come out with its findings such that people will not feel that there's too much of delay? Delay could be dangerous.
That's why I'm happy there are footages that could help in these investigations. Be it CCTV, be it that of your media cameras and so on. That's why I'm just happy there are footages which the military authorities could work with and pick out these.
Because the army is involved in Rivers.
Yes, and the image of the military is of concern to us all.
Well, let me bring in Mr. Alobi on this. Mr. Alobi, the press release by INEC on suspension of electoral process in Rivers State, where they say, based on reports from officials in the field, the Independent National Electoral Commission has determined that there has been widespread disruption of elections conducted on the 9th day of March 2019 in Rivers State. Isn't this an indictment on security agencies who are working to secure the elections in Rivers, given that here he says clearly there were disruptions? This happened under the watch of security agencies.
Yeah, thank you very much, Omar. So let me join Colonel Hassan to say that the public, the politicians, they are the ones perpetuating these problems because they lack democratic education. They are so busily concerned about power, their power to grab power. They're not there to serve the people. If you are there to serve the people, why do you have to go and kill? Why do you have to organize violence? So the military and those who have been manipulated and used to occasion such unpalatable situations, they are being used by the politicians who are so desperate about grabbing power, and I think because they lack democratic education. That's why it is necessary that, like Colonel Hassan said, our curriculum, education, there should be massive education of all the politicians, political education for them to imbibe democratic norms and values. They will be able to know that leadership is all about service, and that it is business and debasing for a politician to recruit thugs who go and cause mayhem and try to truncate our democracy and to be considered a threat to internal security. So the politicians, and they forget that Section 24E of the Constitution provides that it's a constitution to every Nigerian citizen to assist security agencies in internal law and order. It's a constitution to all of us. And it, like Section 14B says, the prime purpose of government is the security and the well-being of the citizens. If the citizens themselves, they want to go into power, you go to the National Assembly, senators, governors, and so forth, and now they are occasioning violence. How can they make laws? So I think our electoral act should be amended. I recommend strongly that any politician who is involved, who is either directly or indirectly involved in violence during the elections, should be banned for life or 10 years minimum.
But
that's a check on the politician. Going back to your question.
Okay, yes, please go ahead. You're going to answer the second part of it. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, you cannot say blaming the security. They are there to perform their role, and they are performing this role, sacrificing their time and everything they can within their power to ensure that they provide an enabling environment for the party for election to be carried out, to elect political leaders who will lead us in this country in the next 4 years. But then it is it's a paradox. The same people who the police and other security agencies are trying to provide for the enabling environment for the electorate to elect them, are not the ones who are now recruiting thugs and miscreants to come and cause problems. It's very, like I say, very debasing, and it's unworthy of a leader. It's unworthy of every human being. What more leaders? So I think you don't have to blame the security agencies, because if the security agencies continue to play their function, maybe like those who probably their rules of engagement will be provided.
If I may just butt in, My apologies, if I may just butt in. We're not blaming. When it's not in our position to blame the military or the police or anybody involved in the process. But we're just asking that question that, having come this far, it would seem to suggest to some people that even though the blames are not on the military or the police, they played a role that a lot of people feel it's not in line with the guidelines, it's not in line with the operational modalities for the military. They had gone a little further than what they ought to have done at those places.
Yeah, I agree with you. They've breached the rules that were given to them, and the code of conduct. That have been breached actually. But then, like I said, it is the collective responsibility of all of our bodies, security, all security agencies, the electorate themselves, the political leaders, and the contest. Everybody has a role. We have a role, like I quoted Section 24E of the Constitution and Section 14B too. If you juxtapose the two sections of the Constitution, it's the collective responsibility of all of us to ensure that our elections, our electoral process are free, credible, fair, and peaceful. But then some unscrupulous politicians, people are so desperate, who feel that power, they must grab power at all costs. They manipulate some security agencies, use them who are probably gullible, and then who they manipulate them and try to truncate the system, and that is not worthy of any leader at all. And those people are not worthy to be leaders. Only that they're not worthy to lead us, because they, rather than promoting, trying to sustain our democracy, they're trying to truncate our democracy. And such an attack. Look at what happened, for instance, in Ondo State, where the police station was set ablaze, vehicles were burned. That is unworthy. Unworthy. It's not right at all. It's debasing. So I think we should try to look at this security sector reform. All security agencies, the military, should begin to be imbibed democratic norms and values, democratic law enforcement, and democratic principle of security operations, so that they'll be able to know that they have to promote human rights, right? Ensure that work in proportionalism is emphasized, which the President IGO has always emphasized, and I'm happy that the police have demonstrated this in their operation throughout all the elections that have been conducted, both on the 23rd of February and on the 9th of March. They've demonstrated professionalism. We have very minimal report against any police conduct, apart from the one that happened in Port Harcourt, and that was because the military came to invade the center. But not for that, I think everything could have ended in a very peaceful manner. And there was that synergy between the military and the security agents that were deployed for election in Port Harcourt. So I think it is a collective responsibility of all of us to ensure that let our electoral process, our elections be free, fair, and credible, and everybody should play the role by the game. And our security agencies should also demonstrate professionalism in their carrying out their functions. So I think also the INEC too should also ensure that they go by the rules, because even some of the ad hoc staff too can also be culpable too. So I think we should do our best and ensure that, like it is said now, it said our creed said to serve Nigeria with all our strength. That we should be patriotic. We don't live this parochial and ethnic parochial sentiment, ethnic sentiment, or religious sentiment, and this beastly attitude of must grab power at all costs. So I think we need democratic education to reorientate our thinking, our actions, and be patriotic in whatever we do to ensure that Nigeria is supposed to be a leading country in Africa. We can't just be giant by size. It's giant by our actions, giant by our deeds, giant by our attitude and character of the people. So I think when this is done, I think we'll move a step further.
All right, Mr. Olubi, we'll come back to this. We still have incidences still in Rivers and then Imo as well, the recent one of yesterday. But we'll talk about some of these when we come back in a moment. Stay with us.